So, I mean, I'm not saying one's like the answer. Obviously, remote like isn't going anywhere. Virtual isn't going anywhere. It has a place, but people are craving the other one more. And there is some kind of magic that happens with the other one.
100%.
So I would think, how can you kind of leverage both? Because that's what that company chief did. It's all, you use the internet, right, to discover it, to be a member, and you're interacting with people on the internet most of the time, but there is a physical club you can go to when sometimes you just might want to hang out and just see what happens.
Like kind of like a WeWork style?
It's got a bar, it's got a cafe, and food, and it's only for club members. And they've got one in each major city across America. And that's the main reason people are joining, is so they can go to that club, and they know there will only be like executive women there that are at a certain level. And so they just know that whoever they run into there, there's going to be
someone.
Something's going to happen. Can you imagine the sorts of like insights? Could you imagine the value you would get out of that?
That's interesting, because we did have a thought like that of, hey, in the beginning we can do these remote things once a quarter or something like that. But can you imagine if we own properties all around the world where our students can join or can attend? Obviously, our team can attend, all that stuff, you know? It's very interesting. And now, you know, these are assets for the company as well.
Yeah. Like, we're remote, but we still have an office.
Right.
And we get to use it for our events. We get to use it for all, like, the quantum events. We get to use it for, like, a lot of things. It has its own... It's a good hybrid.
Sure.
I think the companies that win in the future will figure out that right mix. They won't be pure remote, and they won't be pure...
in person.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Mm.
Do you think it's easier today to do business than it was, say, 100 years ago? Or do you... Like, this is something that I always think about. You know, you hear the cliche sayings of, like, well, we just have it so much easier today. You know, you can reach so many people on the internet. And I'm like, okay, that's true, but don't you think also 100 years ago there was its difficulties and there was its advantages, and then they also thought, well, it's probably easier now than it was 100 years ago? You know what I mean?
Mm. I don't know what it was like 100 years ago.
Sure, yeah.
First of all. But there's some things at the moment that are definitely the hardest they've ever been. One is finding people, like employees, staff, all of that. It's never been harder, and it's never been more expensive, right? And you've never had to compete so viciously with so many opportunities, right? So, like, that's definitely harder. But, you know, and then getting attention, I would say that's, I don't know, actually, because, you know, if you use TikTok and these other things, it can actually be pretty easy. But I guess it's easier to get started. It's harder to find people to work with you. Overall, I'd have to say it's probably easier because, you know, there's just a lot of people are doing it now. Like, you can just do it online. I think back 100 years ago, it was, you basically had to have a lot of capital because you couldn't there was no real market for intangibles, right? Like, what thing were people buying back then that was intangible? Everything was physical, which meant that you needed machines, factories. It was the Industrial Revolution, and that, you know, atoms cost capital, which means that the game is capital, right? For the machinery and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically who has the connections with the banks and who is able to raise the most money from the banks. That person can then make the biggest operation, and then, do you get what I'm saying?
I do get what you're saying, but then the thing that I'm thinking about is, like, when we're comparing today to 100 years ago, you know, today didn't exist. So 100 years ago, it was probably easier than 200 years ago. So I feel like, because the reason why I brought this point up, it's because people sometimes, again, this goes back to the whole FOMO thing, where it's like, well, it's just so much easier now, you know, there are so many opportunities, let's do them all, you know, where it's like, but I don't think that's true, because there's always going to be new opportunities, because I think 100 years ago was easier than 200 years ago, just like how it is today easier than 100 years ago. And I think 100 years from now will be easier than today, or 10 years from now, 50 years from now, or whatever, you know what I mean? And so this is my opinion. And I feel like if people understand that like there's always going to be the new Bitcoin, there's always going to be the new this, the new that if you just find your one thing and then keep at it, it would be better than trying to ride the new trend. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have to make sure the thing that you want to stick to isn't a trend, first of all, right?
Yeah.
But then I think the really good companies, they focus on things that won't change, right? But they use the trends to help them with, like, spread that thing, right? Classic example would have to be Amazon. Like, people are always going to want stuff, toilet paper, like, sellotape, batteries, just people need stuff, right? And if they have the widest selection, the lowest prices, and the fastest shipping with the cheapest shipping, which they do, they will always win. So those things are just fundamentally true all the time.
Right.
But in order to, like, get more people to know about Amazon, they use trends. It's like when the Harry Potter series was coming out. They decided to take a loss on that book and pay for half of it with their money so that they would be the cheapest place to buy the Harry Potter book, and they guaranteed delivery on the day of its launch. So they were riding the trend of Harry Potter because there's all of this energy in Harry Potter, right? And word quickly gets out that if you're a fan of this, you get the book on Amazon, best price at guaranteed delivery. So then, Amazon gets widely known to every fan of Harry Potter. And then they keep using it because they've mastered the fundamentals. Am I making sense?
100%.
That's really smart. That's what I'm kind of getting at. Like, how can you focus on something that is fundamentally true and will always be true, but ride the trends to distribute that truth?
That thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Bezos was smart.
Think so. Yeah.
Who's your favorite entrepreneur at the moment?
Good question. I admire Elon Musk for what he's done, but I like Jeff Bezos. It was kind of like, for a while there was Jeff. I don't know. I feel like maybe because I'm in the Amazon space and it's like, it's just a thing. And then I started leaning towards Elon Musk, and I feel like he's just very bold and very out there and, like, doesn't give a shit regardless how big he gets. It's just like, it feels like he's having fun with it, And that's the thing that I enjoy most about him, because I feel like a lot of people take business very seriously. And I think it doesn't have to be serious. I think it could be fun. Like, I think it's meant to be fun. And if you're not enjoying yourself, it's like, why are you even doing it? But when it comes to, like, principles, and when it comes to, like, basics, especially with with today's world, you could say limited technology, is Sam Walton. I have you read his book, Is It Made in America? I mean, that was probably one of my favorite books of all time. I love, like, storybooks like that, where it's just like the entire story end to end. I listened to it in audio and then I read the book. The fact that and I know Jeff Bezos took a lot of his like qualities of how to run a successful company from Sam Walton's, but the mindset of, like, regardless how big you get, there can always be someone that can come and, like, chop off your knees, and always thinking as if you are, like, small and as if you are nobody. That was one of the things that, like, sticks out to me. And again, I think this is also one of the reasons why Jeff Bezos was, like, my guy for a while, because he took a lot of his principles from Sam Walton and, being frugal, being like treating the company as like day one. Because one thing that I've seen, and I've seen it with a few people in this mastermind as well, it's like they get to a certain point, like 100K a month, 200K a month, and it's like they get comfortable, and it's like, I've made it. They have that I've made it mentality, It's like, but who are you comparing yourself to? Like, dude, your business is so small. And then there is so much, I don't want to say competition, but there is so much more that you can be doing. But I feel like they go from that, like, the hustle or grind mentality of like day one mentality to now I've made it. And then they kind of start resting on their laurels. And that, I feel like, is the most dangerous time a company or an entrepreneur can be in, because I've been there, And the other thing that I'm learning is that we need growth in our lives for us to stay motivated, for us to stay, like, you need hunger in all areas of your life, in business, relationships, health, whatever. You need to keep progressing. Otherwise, like, as you said, it's like I had a target and then I would kind of feel down and there was really no passion there. You need to be driving for something. And if you're not driving for something, I feel like that's where the danger zone happens. It happened to me a couple times in business. I rested on my laurels and I thought that I was like untouchable, like I'm kind of too big to lose. And then until reality slapped me in the face and I was like, oh shit, I need to get my ass back to work.
It's funny you say that, because whenever we go around the room at Quantum and everyone says how much they're currently making, next time you're in that room, listen to it, but 83,000 is the number. That happens most frequently. And then I thought, why that?
That they're making right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, why, of all numbers, why are most people
because
making...
7 figures?
Yeah, it's like exactly $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and not even $1 million profit, because these numbers are revenue.
Sure.
So it's not really that they want $1 million, because if it was, they wouldn't make that exact amount.
Right.
Because that isn't $1 million in your bank account.
Right.
So really, what does that tell you? Like, they want to be known, they want the identity of a 7-figure entrepreneur.
Right.
So they're mostly doing it for status. Yeah. Which is interesting. I think most people, even in like a high-end mastermind, they're still after that. And that matters to them more than the reality of, like, how much money they make. It's not really money, it's more the status of it. And then I think you have to trade a lot, you have to work a lot harder to go beyond that. And it's also riskier. Getting big is risky.
100%.
So, like, you can see how they kind of stay there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because business isn't really that important to them, status is, and business is just a status tool, right? Then they're probably going to worry about upholding their status in other areas, and they're not willing to sacrifice that for more. And it's also riskier, and you've got to work harder to get bigger. So it's kind of obvious to me why a lot of people stay smaller. Do you get what I'm saying?
100%. Absolutely. Something that I realized is, after that, if you're hungrier and then you want to keep pushing, there was that other level that I saw a lot of people are stuck at, which is like that $1 million a month, you know? And I don't know what was that, because I saw a lot of people that, like, there is, I don't want to drop names here, but all of us know, like, maybe a dozen or a couple dozen people that over the last 5-6 years came and went, were like someone big and then they weren't anymore. They were someone, and if you go back, I bet you anything that they probably got to that like $1 million a month, $1.5 million a month, and then dropped. And there is something that happens at that, there's like the business breaking points. It's, I think it was like 3, 5, and then 10 or 15, and then 25, 45, 75. And that $1 million a month gets you at that breaking point of 15. And then from there to go to the next level, this is where we've just barely cracked through. You go from what Dean Graziosi told me was, until now, you've had a campaign. And then now you're learning how to go to a real company. It's like, this is when you crack into a real company with real problems, with, a company that could go upside down possibly, with real payroll, with all this stuff, when you have base salaries, when you do all this stuff. And what I've realized is that it's also one of the reasons why a lot of people go from one niche to another, because like, oh, I grew it to $1 million a month or whatever, whatever the number is. I could probably do it in this new thing. Now it's crypto. Now it's whatever. Now it's this. And then I'll just kind of keep doing this because then I don't need to really like grow up, past that point, and I'll just keep hashing that money and that's it. But I 100% agree with you. And I think it also has to do with the, like when you asked me the question, where did that start? I think it needs to come from the real drive to why you're doing it. We all get into business to make money. I mean, there's no question about that. Maybe it's not the main thing, but second thing, But I think it's gonna come to a point where it's like, all right, I've made the money. What's next? So for your passions, like I just love building things. I just like this is what I obsess about. I need to be building something. For me, it's like I want to help people. I want to impact people's lives. And so I feel like when the money is solely the driver, that's when people get to a point where it's like, as you said, if I push further than this, I might sacrifice profitability. I might sacrifice the title. I might sacrifice. It's like I've busted my ass to get here. I'm okay. I'm fine.
Yeah. Plus, what I noticed is that the people who get to the absolute top, like break through even 100 mil and more, I found a common thread, which was they were doing the thing that their business was built around initially for free. And they would always have done it for free. It was a pure love thing, right? And then so obviously a business was like built around it, because when there's so much love for something, it makes something great, right? Like everything great, somebody loved laboring on it, basically, right? And they really cared about it. So like everyone wants it because it's special, right?
Yeah.
And so that makes a great business. And then they realized that the business, the money from that could be used to do it at an even more intense level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it was like, Apple, they started building their own factories so that they could make the designs that they always wanted to make, but they couldn't before because they were constrained by money. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah. And so for me, building things, when I see money, I just think of engineers. I'm like, oh, that's a really good engineer. Imagine what we could do with that. Right? So I don't
What do you mean by that?
Well,
when I see money, I see engineers. What does that mean?
Well, $1 million in income, like revenue, right? That could be 3 or 4 software engineers a year.
Got it.
What could I build with that? I'm like, oh, shit.
Okay, got it. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Whereas I used to think of $100,000 as like a entry-level second-hand Ferrari. Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Or a Porsche or a boat.
Got it.
Buying some object.
Yeah.
But that was very harmful, really, because it meant you had to take the money out of the system.
Right.
You had to pay tax on that income.
Sure.
And now you own something that you want to use. And the very nature of using it means you're not working on the business.
And it's going to depreciate in value.
And it depreciates, it needs servicing, it needs all this crap.
Right.
So it's really like, I realized that after a few years. I was like, damn. And I was like, well, how can I get satisfaction out of the money while recycling it in the business? And I think that's what I've noticed all of the really great people have done. Like, I mean, look at Elon. I mean, that dude's not buying anything fancy.
Right.
He just does bigger stuff. He's like, we'll go to Mars after a while, like he's like, we'll build electric cars. He just kept rolling all of his, like whatever he made, he just rolled it all into the next thing.
Yeah.
And swung for the fences, yeah.
And that's one of the most things that I respect and love about him is that he's always willing to lose it all for something much bigger, you know? And again, this goes back to what I was talking about, the people getting comfortable. I think they get comfortable around a certain level that they're not willing to lose. And I feel like that is the formula to absolute disaster. When you get comfortable and you're not willing to go bigger, improve, do whatever else because of that status, because, well, what if I lose this? Like, what am I going to do? Go back to that? Hell no, I'm not doing that, you know? Where the people that do great things are like, fuck it, I've been there once, I don't care, I can go back there and I'll figure it out from there again.
Yeah, it's interesting. At first I wondered, what is wrong with everyone? Like, why isn't everyone trying to be Elon or like Bezos, right?
Okay.
Because I was like, if you're going to do something, do it like that. But with time, I've noticed that most people don't want to do that at
100%.
all. Like, it's excruciating, and and that's when I realized, like, oh, not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur, even. And why do some people just get comfortable at a certain spot? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. I guess the only problem is really when someone gets complacent to the point that they lose it all, and then they can't, provide for their family or whatever.
I've seen that happen a few times with like close friends, people not in this program, but in your earlier programs, where it's like every time we talk, they were going to start this thing and then they just never did. And then, they once had it and then now they don't, and then they have it and they don't, they have it and they don't. I don't know. For me, this entire conversation leads back to a word with 3 letters. It's your why. Again, for you, it's I want to build things. Something that I heard over the weekend was, if you get clear on the why, the hows will show up. And the bigger the why, the more hows will show up, right? And so, like, oftentimes we'll get people reaching out to me saying, hey, what's your best advice for someone starting a business? Or I want to have better life for my family or whatever. And I'm always like, they're expecting like, tactical advice or like do this and do that and then step by step or something like that. And I'm like, be clear on your why. 7-8 years ago, it was, I want to clear my debt. I want to retire my parents. I want to marry my wife. And then after it was like, I want to grow a company. I want to provide opportunities. I want to impact people's lives. For you, it's I want to build things, So if people become clear on their why, I think they'd be able to live a not just a happier life, a more fulfilling life. And some people's why might be just, hey, $83,000 a month because that gets me there. Okay, cool. But then being able to like sustain that long term.
Yeah, I agree. So what's next in your business?
A lot of things. Holy shit. The very, very immediate thing is in the weeds. We're in the middle of a migration, building systems, building accountability, kind of next level accountability. On a higher level, I've come to realize that, because for a while there, acquiring new customers was pretty cheap for us. We were acquiring customer for like $500-600 for almost a $5,000 offer, and that was easy. There was plenty of those, And then as you kind of season, I guess, that becomes a little more difficult. And for a while there, we were like fighting against it. And my thing was like focus. I'm like big on focus, stay focused. But then I think I kind of took that a little on an extreme side. Again, as we were talking earlier, you can kind of take things on complete extremes. And I think there is a place in the middle. So what we've realized is for a business like ours, we need to go deep and instead of going wide, right? And so for us, wide was like acquire more customers. And in the beginning, that's I think that's smart to build a base to go deep from, right? So now it's how can we serve these people at a higher level, right? So we thought it was a mastermind, but then we realized that we're working with still a beginner person, right? Like people in your mastermind are different. Like I could argue that it probably wouldn't be very useful for your accelerator students to go to quantum. They almost needed to go to up level for them to go to quantum. Because if someone did not have a business and now is making 5, 10,000, maybe even 20,000 a month, I don't know if this like high level conversations would serve them well. They need to go to quantum where you produce, you introduce now we're going to do paid ads. Now we're going to do these things. And then once they're at that level, then it's like, all right, now I'm going to go to quantum. So this is what we've come to realize. So our next thing is we're launching a next like kind of like a WeTube quantum style coaching program, just higher level tactical stuff still to get people from a certain level to another level to a higher level. And then from there, we're going to probably do the next thing. And then just kind of like serve them where they are and then keep growing them as humans, financially, emotionally, everything. And then we want to bring multiple entry points. So right now it's just a VSL, right? And it goes to a phone funnel. I also want to see how I could do like smaller items, smaller products, whether if it's just like a course or even a subscription or something like that I can run direct paid ads to, right? And so kind of have like, because I look at someone like Tony Robbins or a Grant Cardone, for example. Last I checked, I think Grant was at like $200 million a year or something like that with just his education company. And he literally has something for everybody. If you've got $10 in your bank or $10 million in your bank, he's got something for you, right? From a book to this, to that, all the way to like investment opportunities, right? And so for us, it's like, how do we create that ecosystem that can serve people where they're at and then just like create this model that's perfect, that works with ascensions in the middle, right? I'm also thinking of software, not to necessarily buy, but to partner up with, we are currently using software because in our industry, you need software to do product research, do all that stuff. And that's very big. So to me, and then they have like an education side. So they're kind of like becoming competition. And I just feel like software would add a big, it's like a great asset for the company, right? But I'm still not decided 100%. We are I have a couple of people, like a couple project managers going out and assessing what software are in the market. We've already communicated with a few. We're trying to see what opportunities would be there. And then we'll kind of like finalize from there. And I'll probably ask you for advice once I have something. So that's kind of like the next 2 years, the next 24 months. Beyond that would be, what have we learned here? How can we now apply that into another vertical? Preferably that's more timeless. The skill and the content is more timeless. Like with Amazon, yes, the buying will always be there, but the teaching, the platform changes, where say something like sales, something like copywriting, is timeless. I also like red oceans rather than blue oceans.
You mean the opposite?
No, I like red oceans.
Okay. Why is that?
Because when I became an Amazon seller and an Amazon coach, it was a decently red ocean.
I guess you had a restaurant before that.
Well, sure. Yeah, it was. But the thing that I've realized is that I don't want to necessarily be the first one in. I would rather have some like track record.
You want a big market.
Right.
Yeah.
And a proven
true.
market.
Every big market is pretty competitive.
Yeah. And like crypto, for instance, there are so many people are like, dude, let's do a crypto course together. I'm like, dude, I don't even understand what the hell it is. Like I don't understand the concept. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it operates, let alone trying to teach it to other people. I don't know what I'd be talking about. And so I want like a market where the consumer education has already been done for me, and instead of me needing to educate consumers.
Yeah, I get it. So something with high affinity to Amazon too, right?
100%.
I've got something in mind. So what is something with a huge market that's already been proven that is somewhat passive? Because I swear the people that like Amazon, they don't want to make their own product, right? They just want to like sell something people need. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So where is there? So they want kind of a passive. They don't want to be the face of it kind of business. That's very stable. Like, what's something that's very similar to that? I've got something in mind, but I'm curious. What vertical are you thinking of?
So now that you said the word passive, it turned me off from like sales and copywriting because it's not passive, or it is. I guess.
Well, those things require like a skill, which is different than Amazon selling. You know what I mean?
But I would argue that that's also
you need
a skill.
You need skill, but the thing you're selling isn't the skill.
Okay.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? It's not a service.
Well, another thing that I had in mind was like, and again, this goes back like tens of years, is like stock trading. You know, it depends on what concept you do. There is some that are more passive than others. Obviously, if you're a day trader, you need to be there, because I was one before I got into Amazon, so I understand that market a little bit. But again, it applies to the people that don't want to be the face of it. It's remote. You could do it from anywhere in the world. Those were kind of, I haven't put too much thought into it, but those were kind of the options that I was thinking about. What are you thinking about?
Guess, see if you can read my mind. I've got a kind of word, the name of a company in my mind.
A name of a company?
Like, or that defines an industry.
Fuck, no idea.
Airbnb.
So yes, so real estate, that's one vertical that I have in there. And then Airbnb, it's definitely something that I've thought about.
It's very similar to Amazon in a way.
One thing that I am concerned about that is, don't you think it's, I don't want to say trendy, but does it also work in a bad economy?
Yeah.
That was my only like concern.
It does. It changes. It was actually started in 2008. Yeah. And they just actually, the guy, Brian Chesky, just came out with a video. You should go check it out. It's quite interesting. And it's called the 2002 Winter Release. And they're talking about Airbnb is trying to go back to their roots, which was renting out rooms in your house instead of just a luxury, like, whole house for influencers, which is where Airbnb went to, like, in the boom times, right?
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it was about renting out just spare bedrooms in your house, which is great during a recession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that would actually be perfect for that.
Oh, yeah. It moves. It changes. It's a very... because it's an ecosystem like Amazon. It balances. The demand shrinks in one spot, but it expands in another when you have a large enough, like, ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I've been approached by, or I've had conversations with James before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some people that are crushing in there. Like, I've
100%.
met people that make a lot of money,
Yeah.
and they're not teaching because, like, they don't need to. So
Right.
they're just doing it, right?
Yeah. So it's like finding someone like that. But then, okay, so here's a question for you. Going back to like the kind of like the vision for our company for the future, would you find someone like that, or would you find more of someone that already is kind of like an influencer and has some traction online as a person of influence, you know?
This is the hard part. Like, in a way, you've got the side. Like, what is the demand side really? Which is the side that you're good at doing, which is how to make money.
Sure.
That's what you've figured out. You know how to build an audience of people that want to make money and put money-making opportunities in front of them. That's no different when you move to the Airbnb vehicle. It's just a different choice. Some people might be like, oh, I don't like Amazon, but oh, Airbnb, I like that. Do you know what I mean? So you just need someone that can do it, and for it to be very good and competitive against other Airbnb offers. So they have the skill, they need the distribution. You have the distribution, but you need the skill. It's kind of a good trade.
Do you think that, because that's one concern that we've had in the past, would be, what if we build a personality and then now they've got a brand, and it's like, well, what if they say, well, we don't need you guys really? I mean, obviously there's contracts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Well, you just need to there's always that kind of dynamic in a lot of things in business.
Yeah.
So you need to really make it a great arrangement where both people win and you cover each other's weaknesses.
Yeah.
So that you're better together than apart. And you need to have really good contracts too that make sure that, people are kept honest, basically.
Right. Yeah. We're working with VaynerMedia to help us come up with a brand playbook and things like that. And something on our last session, the person that's working with us said, what did he say? He said, are you a branded house or a house of brands? And he said a branded house is like Apple. A house of brands is almost like Google, because they've acquired all these different tools, and then kind of put them inside of there. And so when I'm thinking about our vision, I'm like, I guess you could go both ways, but I feel like we may be safer to grow, might be more of a house of brands. Where this big house and there's all these different brands that we're acquiring, putting under the umbrella, creating a platform. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you could just be really good at building Bashar and BJKU to be what are the best opportunities to make money in business at this time? Right. And you can always be the curator of that. And then you find the right people. For you right now, it's Amazon, but now you're actually investing in some of your students' businesses,
right,
and getting them to do it, which makes total sense. But you could, if Airbnb is a great opportunity, then you could bring that to everyone as well. And so those are more opportunities, and those opportunities have experts, right? And those products are kind of products, but sure. BJKU is always kind of the brand. It takes ridiculous amount of energy to grow a house of brands, insane actually. Even Google, it's still called Google, sure. But they tried to say Alphabet, but no one calls it that.
Yeah.
Or Apple, I would say, that's a brand, but they've got products, the iPhone, the MacBook Pro. So I think it's more brand, which has something simple that you associate with it, and then products. And the products in the info world need people, right, experts, right?
100%.
Because that way all of your pretty much demand side marketing would be around how to make money with different ways, right? Because people are wanting to make money with in the modern economy.
Sure.
And Amazon and Airbnb are great ways. And I'm sure there's other ways too.
Yep.
You could even have one in there how to be an influencer. And then they could promote once they're an influencer, they could sell the other things. You know what I mean?
That's interesting because so Andrew Tate kind of does something similar. And one of the things that I have on my notes of how to keep growing was 80 to 90% of our students have jobs. The reason why they're starting Amazon, either they want to supplement their income or replace it eventually. And so I was thinking, how can I replace their job with being a BJKU affiliate? The only concern I have is not all of them, a lot of people that get into businesses like these, like Amazon, Airbnb or whatever, because they don't necessarily want to be the face. They want to hide behind the curtains, they want to do their thing, and then there's the brand, right? And so if you say, well, you become Bashar and take videos and stuff like that and then promote BJK University, I feel like a lot of people could be turned off by that. But what if we did again, a similar strategy to Andrew Tate, where it's like, here is content, here is how to distribute it, here's what I need you to do, type of thing. And then have them make enough money to where they can replace their job, so that way they can focus more on Amazon, they have income coming in, and then they're still in our ecosystem. And this would even make it easier for us to sell them more things in the future, because they've just invested so much in this ecosystem, in this platform that's supported them so much. You know what I mean?
That would work. I've heard that E-Man is doing the Tate model in a slightly different way. Have you heard about this? E-Man Gaji?
Yeah, I think I haven't heard exactly what he does, but I know I've heard he does something with cryptocurrency for his mastermind or something like that. Like he created a token.
He's doing all sorts of things, that included, but the one I'm referencing is like he's getting his audience to repurpose his content and distribute it on TikTok and things.
Okay.
And that's growing his channel and everything a lot right now. Basically like the Tate model.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're affiliates or not. You'd have to look into it. I'm wondering what's incentivizing them to do it. There must be something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing is it kind of works for Tate because his content is so controversial.
100%.
That all you really need to do is cut it up and put it on the internet and it will just like take off. So like, would it make sense for them?
Right.
Could they take your content? Could they cut it up? Could they put it out? And would it earn them enough money to justify the work?
Right.
Yeah, that's what you'd have to figure out, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, that's the right way to think about it, is how can you reuse all of the things you have in your ecosystem to help you grow?
Because I like the way you're thinking of like, I don't want a marketing team. You know? I mean, I guess in a way that's kind of a marketing team. But it's
distributed, yeah.
Yeah, it's in a different way. It's not like paid media, you know? Not one person has control over, like right now we have almost 3 million followers on Instagram. I could wake up tomorrow and our Instagram page is gone. You know? It's they could do it, right? It's like, and then what? Well, we've got a couple hundred pages. We can probably grow another page that we can send traffic to. But then, like our email list, that's something that we own. You know, no one can fuck with us on that. We can take our emails and take them anywhere and then start emailing people. And the same thing with this thing that I'm telling you about, these affiliates. It's like it builds loyalty, and it's something that I know that it's going to always produce. And then they themselves will be like super fans, like BJK University super fans. It's like, I'll do it. It's like kind of like having soldiers on the ground that'll do anything and everything for you, you know, because you're providing so much value to them.
Yeah. Yeah, that would work really well if you could make it work.
Right.
I think that's the only way you'll ever get huge.
Right.
Is to have a huge distributed like team of self-organizing kind of team of like people that are actively growing your brand.
Right.
The other way though is like with Tony Robbins and Grant, like when you hear of Tony, what's one word that comes to mind?
Affiliates.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? What about Grant Cardone?
Obnoxious?
So if I was to think about them, I'd think of like Grant's 10x.
Right.
And Tony would be like motivation.
Motivation, really? Interesting.
Well, he's like the motivation guy. I mean, I know he does a lot of things, but in my opinion, that's his main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've kind of built movements.
Yes.
Yeah. So they have like, I don't know, does Tony have merch?
100%.
What does it say on it?
All kinds of stuff. I mean,
the most common one. If you see Tony merch, what does it typically say?
Unleash your power. I've seen his team wears, what is it? Our work changes lives or something like that.
Yeah, unleash your power. Yeah, I can see that. So like there's more of like a very base kind of like feeling around that movement. It's like people
Sure.
that want to unleash their power, be motivated.
Yeah.
And Grant's like 10x. People there just want to like get big. And Grant's energy is like that.
Right.
And Tony's energy is like that. Even the like, you know, hand movements and stuff he does, like punching things, and
He's
his
a very
voice,
intense
he's
guy.
huge. I mean, yeah. And it's very basic. People are just like, I want to be in that.
Yeah.
I think that's what's doing it at like the very basic level.
I do 100% agree. It's the movement part, you know?
I would think a lot about what the movement can be for like BJKU.
Yeah.
It has to be so simple, right? Like if I just, the way I describe Tony's and
Yeah, that's interesting. It's, and I don't know if it's simple or not, but we have our phrase of, you know, that we're on a mission to impact 1 million lives. And the reason why I bring this up, because literally in school, you could see people's bio. And then if you go to our students' bio, you'll see that theme throughout their bio. Like this morning, someone posted, one of our closers posted that one of the students that he enrolled a couple of days ago has, I want to build 10 hospitals and blah, blah, blah. You'll see people like saying that, I want to give back to 100,000 people or 1 million people, 10 people, I want to do this, you know? And you kind of start seeing like this theme, and it's pretty cool. Even in our marketing, we're shifting to, and instead of, you know, like click the link in our bio or you know, join our university, to where like be part of our mission, be part of the one of the lives that we impact type of thing, you know? And we've literally had people reach out to us, say, hey man, I want to, you know, I want you to impact my life as well. I want to be part of your mission, you know? Especially when they join like the team, because we recruit a lot from our community to join the team. It's like, yeah, I would love to be part of your mission, you know?
Yeah, so the two keywords I heard from all of that was like give and impact.
Right.
So that's probably the start of it. It takes a while to kind of like, you know, boil it all down,
Sure,
and distill it and find these little pieces, and then that's when you've got the start of it, I think, because now it's way easier for you to communicate that. And because, you know, most people, when they look at things and read things, they're not really like reading it, or
right.
they're just having a very like unconscious feeling. Do you know what I'm talking about?
100%.
And that's what drives most of behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just like away or towards.
Right.
And so like, how do you just get the right ones to go towards? And that has to be that simple.
Interesting. I love what you said about Grant, because literally I use 10x in my vocabulary now. You know, like I went 10x, or I'm doing, you know, I'm 10xing this. And then every time I say that, I catch myself. I'm like, fuck. You know, I'm using it as a verb now in everything that I say, which is interesting. It's kind of like it's been programmed in my subconscious mind, you know?
Yeah, well, it's the whole like energy of it all. Like, you know, there's 10x everywhere.
Right.
On the merch and everything, but every event is like 10x. It's like Grant's personality is like 10x personality. It's just, it's everything. Yeah.
Right. What is it for school?
Where school's kind of different in a way, because it's everyone. It's more about the things on school.
Okay.
Like if we're too dominating, it won't be about like BJKU, right? So in a way, we have to stand back and let the individual groups take the center stage.
Okay.
But the school brand, we want, the main word that we would want would be fun.
Got it. Okay. Why is that? Why do you think that's important?
Because I think our mission statement is like to help 1 billion people find community.
Okay.
Right? So in order for 1 billion people to do anything, it needs to be fun.
Got it.
Yeah. Because 1 billion people aren't rational or logical. They're mostly just going to follow instinct and feeling, right?
Emotional, yep.
Yeah. So it has to appeal to that. Like, why are there so many people playing games?
Right.
Do you ever wonder that? Like,
It's fun.
Exactly. Yeah. People will always. So if we want to get that kind of reach, we have to have that feeling.
Interesting.
Mm.
I never understood the thing about video games. I've never been into video games. I don't think I ever will be. I don't know why. Never been a sports guy, never been into video games. I don't know, it's like a kind of an odd thing. Like usually guys like sports or video games or whatever. Just never been into that.
Yeah, I only got into it because a group of my friends were playing a game. And so they were like, do you want to come play with us?
What game was that?
Counter-Strike.
I was going to say Counter-Strike. That was a big thing in Iraq right before I left in 2003, 2004.
And it was the friends.
Yeah.
Like, because you're playing
the community.
them. Yeah, you're playing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's more special when the person you're trying to, like, beat,
right?
You know it's that guy right there.
Right.
Like your friend.
Yeah.
And it's more funny when you see how they play because they kind of like... They're expressing themselves. You know that's your friend. Like, just the way they're walking around or running into a wall or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm.
Huh. Goes back to community, right?
Yeah. And then I played it longer term because I discovered the wider community. Mm. But I got into it through my friends.
Got it.
Which is often how people get into anything. Friends first, and then they'll stick to it if there's like a wider group. Because, you know, my friends stopped playing after a while, but I kept playing because there was the wider community.
Do you still associate yourself with old friends?
Associate how?
As in, like, talk to them often or visit them, or are they in your circle in your life?
Only like 2 or 3 of them, because I never had a huge amount of friends. It was mostly just a small group.
Okay.
And we just text, and often when I go back to New Zealand, I'll see them. But for the most part, it's not much of a relationship anymore. It's hard when I'm in another country, and
sure.
And my life's changed dramatically. Like, you know, I'm friends, like my closest friends now are like, you know, a lot of the people I work with. Yeah.
Do you think, because this is something that I find interesting, and a lot of people struggle with like letting go of their circles. And I think that's why they don't kind of like have that catapult into like the next thing or something like that. Is like the people that they knew back home or their friends from high school or something like that, they're still in that circle. For example, one of my personal trainer would be talking and he'd go, yeah, man, this morning one of my friends like sent this stupid negative comment in the group chat that I was in, that I'm part of, and it just like really messed up my morning. And I'm like, well, why don't you get out of it? He's like, no, well, these are my friends. I've known them all my life. It's kind of odd. And for me personally, when I moved from San Diego, especially to Miami 2 years ago, I don't want to say I cut ties, but I only like talk to them when I go back. And I'll go see them maybe once and that's it. Do you think like people you know from the past or like old friends or something like that could have like a negative impact?
For sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
But with me, I just learned the things that were still like common between us. So like one friend, we always talk about music because we both still like that,
okay.
Right? And my other friend, we just talk about life events, like getting married, having kids, and cars.
Okay.
Right? So like those things are still common, like we're the same, but you know, we lost a lot of the other things that we shared in common, right?
Got it.
Yeah. But you know, there's a lot of people I used to talk to that I know I haven't talked to in a long time. There was only really like, I would say 2 or 3 people that I still have connection with, yeah, from like my New Zealand days.
Interesting. Cool. Anything else?
Don't know. This is one of those moments. See, people get freaked out by these, but I kind of like them because I'm like, what should we talk about next? And I just let it kind of come.
I try not to take over the conversation sometimes. Because I don't know, like, what you're... Like, sometimes I'm asking questions, and I loved it, by the way, because I'm usually never able to do that, because I'm sitting across someone that's very smart, and I want to, as much as they want to ask me questions, I also have some questions I want to ask them, you know? And it's like I was able to do that in this conversation, and I actually really enjoyed that. But then I'm also like, okay, I don't want to feel like I'm stepping on someone's toes by doing that, because, like, you know, their podcast, like, why are you doing that?
It's funny you say that, because I swear most people that, like, it's been interesting starting this thing, because I think most podcasts are like interviews.
Yeah. And
the interviewer has the questions, and they ask the question, this person answers the next one. And that never goes, that person asked this person a question. And I've actually seen it in some cases where this person asked this person a question. It makes this person uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but for me, I didn't want to do an interview. I just wanted to hang out. And whenever I hang out, I don't necessarily, I might have some questions. Like, oh, I saw you doing that. How did that go? Kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But most of the time I just start by just feeling it out. Like, just show up. What's up? You might have some things you're talking about. I've got some things. And then all of these questions start coming from there. But then there might be a moment where there's nothing.
Yeah.
Then you think of something. And it might not even be a question. It might just be like, oh, did you see this? Like you said before, like, did you see what Tate's doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, did you see what E-Man's doing? It's kind of like what Tate's doing. And maybe do you see what I'm,
100%.
So I like to leave a lot of space for things to just come out.
Just come out.
And I have no agenda other than just hanging out and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
But it makes some people very uncomfortable.
I think it's the, like, I'll be honest with you, it was funny because when we first started and I knew that we were recording, I started feeling kind of like nervous a little bit. I'm like, what the fuck just happened right now? Like, I knew that we were just off camera and that we just went on camera. Why did I change? Like, there was no change in, like, in you and the scene and nothing. And I think it's conditioning, because I feel like people are conditioned to do a certain thing a certain way. And it's not just with podcasts. Like, I've seen this with everything, you know, in society and marriage. And, you know, it's like, if you're Catholic, if you get married, let's say you're stuck with the person for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? It's like, regardless what's happening, you got to work it out, you know? So it's like, it's conditioning in what society kind of imposes on you. And so I feel like with podcasts, especially if people have been on other podcasts before where it was like that, you know, because again, this is the first podcast where I get to ask questions. And then I did it a couple of times and I saw that you were receptive to it and like you were actually getting in your zone. And I'm like, well, this is cool. Let me keep going, you know? But then I also try to like not overdo it. But I think that's because of how it is. Like, this is how it's supposed to be, you know?
What do you mean?
Like the interview process where it's like you're the one with the questions, I'm the one with the answers, and this is how it's supposed to be. Like,
oh, yeah, I had no questions.
Yeah, like 99.9% of the podcast that I've appeared on, it was always like that. It's like I sit down, I get introduced, questions, I answer, and that's that.
Yeah. It's kind of freeing because I think a lot of people do a podcast because they're like trying hard to sell something or whatever. And it just warps everything. They're like, you ask me these questions and I'll answer these questions and you look shocked at this. You know what I mean? It's all like orchestrated. But I just wanted to hang out and put it out there.
Yeah.
And I don't even care like how it goes. That's really just it.
Yeah.
But I have a instinct from like a lot of these conversations I've had with people that what people want more than anything is real conversations that happen in breaks, at dinner, and just when two entrepreneurs in the space are hanging out.
Right.
So if that's the idea, right? Like, we know people want that. So then how do we do that? Well, it has to just truly be like if you were hanging out.
Just needs to happen, right?
But it's interesting because we've already launched one on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen it. Did you see Blake's one?
I haven't. No, not yet.
So already launched one, and it's so different to like my normal content and everything that it doesn't get anywhere near as much like views or comments.
It'll take time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's hard to judge it as like, there's certain video concepts I could put out that would definitely get 100K views real fast and just like bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
But I don't think they would have much depth with the audience. Like, people are always just like, yeah, that's it. So they don't develop much of a relationship. And I thought about it for a long time. I was like, I would rather have a small group of people that really have a tight relationship, the right people, than just have a lot of subs and views. Because if you look at the people that have a lot of subs and views, they all look the same.
Right.
They're just hitting the same points because they know that YouTube algorithm will give them a lot of views for that topic. And they cut it and they put the sensational... their creation is warped by the platform. Whereas I just wanted to make something pure and not care about that. Yeah, and I've heard there's a bunch of people I know that have podcasts kind of similar to this. They're not super popular, but they bring a lot of clients actually.
A lot of very like high quality people.
Yeah. And so far I've seen with the one I released like yesterday, Blake's one, the people that I wanted to resonate with it are like a lot.
Yeah.
And they're typically like the more sophisticated info business owners.
Yeah.
Because if you think about this conversation we just had, a total beginner might just be curious,
right? But
it's probably most going to resonate for like the person like us,
right?
And I'm looking for the people like me,
right,
at this stage, because they're looking for the people that are like,
sure,
yeah.
As far as the YouTube algorithm, this is something that I've also noticed because we were posting shorts, we were posting regular like original content, and then I would also do these podcasts and I would have them posted, and like the algorithm was like going crazy. It's like, wait a second, what the hell is this channel about again? You know, what am I supposed to be optimizing for? And so if you're going to stick to this I guess model, it'll take some time, but then once it catches, you know. Kind of like see what happened to Harmosi's channel. You know, for the longest time, he had like 100,000, 150,000 subs. And then I think like every time I look at it, he grows like 10, 15,000 subs a day or something like that now. You know what I mean? It's just like, and then his videos, like hundreds of thousands of views. Because I feel like he's caught on to, you know, the algorithm has caught on to his style. Okay, this works. Now let's distribute it, you know? Yeah.
He's also gone mainstream. In a way, kind of more towards mainstream. But you see how you have to sacrifice a bit of depth to get the views?
Yeah. Interesting. We were thinking about that because the one thing is like, for me, it's like, what is YouTube for exactly? Because it never was a money generator for us, you know? Even when we tried as much as we can, optimize for everything, it just, I don't know, it just never, it's kind of like we haven't figured out the YouTube thing, you know? And so, like a little while ago, we were kind of at a fork in the road. It was like, do we go after the views and the clicks and all that? Because if we do, then I was thinking, I'm like, well, fuck, I'm not going to enjoy the making content then. It'll be about stuff that I don't really want to talk about. And that's one of the reasons why I make content for YouTube.
What do you want to talk about?
About the things that I enjoy, you know?
Which is what?
Which is like things that I learn nowadays. Like, again, there's probably like 10 things that I want to talk about that I learned from this last weekend, you know, that I want to make videos about. Whether if it's like, you know, top takeaways or whatever style video. But the other thing that I feel like, and then also these conversations, like I love those, you know, because I feel like there are so many nuggets that people can take away from. But then it's like, how do you combine the two? You know, like, do you just throw them up? Because there is one part of me that's like, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to throw it up. If it gets 1 view or if it gets 100,000 view, who cares? And then there's the other side of me that is like, no, but, you know, we should kind of look at the algorithm. So I feel like I need to be clear on that and say, I'm going to do exactly what I enjoy and I don't give a shit what happens. Or, you know what, this is going to be for, you know, we're going to optimize for this and this. Maybe I do this, but I don't do that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the choice.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of leant more towards I'm going to do what I want and put it out there and I don't care.
Yeah.
However, if people hated it, like over a long period of time,
Sure.
and it wasn't growing or doing much, then I probably wouldn't continue to do it.
Right.
But I'm not even willing to do that other one. Like, just producing for the algorithm.
Sure.
Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like, so it's this or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. How long do you think you'll do this until you have enough data that it's like it's working or it's not working? And will you care about that?
So I told myself I'll commit to at least 6 first. I'll do 6.
Okay.
The thing I care about most is, do I enjoy it, and does it drain my energy? Yeah.
Got it.
So I plan to only do it on a Saturday at 1 p.m.
Got it.
so that it's not in my work week, and I work Saturday morning, I have lunch, and then I come in and hang out.
Got it.
I think it's very healthy for me if I hang out with someone in this space for 2 to 3 hours a week. I build a connection with someone, I have some fun, I hear what's going on in someone else's part of this world, right? That gives me a lot, but it also gives me energy when we just get to hang out. So then it actually, like, I've learned some things, I'm uplifted, and I've built a connection with someone.
Got it.
Which is all 3 great things, and it only took 2 or 3 hours. And I've produced content for every channel. And hopefully it can also, like, give a glimpse into... I have this theory that a lot of people are, like, in their stage personality in this industry. And people are always seeing, like, you know, Bashar in that light or Sam in that light, right? I mean, I had the New York Sam, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. And what I've found is people actually like you a lot more when they see the other one, the real one.
Yeah.
And that more people buy too. And this lesson came to me when I did those Instagram stories with Rhett. Did you ever see those?
Yes, I did.
There was no value in those at all. It was mostly me mocking Rhett.
Yeah. You know, actually, he was the one that got me into, was it Up Level? Yeah, Up Level. Yeah.
Do you know how many people bought from that? They were like, I knew you always knew how to make money and shit, but I didn't know you had fun till I saw that. And then they were like, I was in. That was it. Yeah. They just were waiting for the good feeling.
Why did you stop it?
Because I no longer live with Rhett.
Ah, okay, got it. All right.
Yeah, so like he wasn't there to do that with. Yeah. Yeah, my whole life, whenever I've done something, it has to be with other people, see? Otherwise it doesn't work. Like, that's why this podcast too is designed in a way that I just hang out with someone else and things happen.
Interesting.
But I have a theory that you'll get more, like, of the things you want too, like whether that's talent, like hires, or even customers, from them seeing something like this.
Well, people get to see the real you, right?
Yeah.
They get to see the raw you, the everyday, the person that I'm actually going to be dealing with you, you know?
Yeah.
Rather than as you said, like camera, lights, action, go, that version, the 30 seconds version, you know?
Yeah. So then it's kind of a win-win for everyone, right? But the thing I care about most is it fun? Because it needs to be fun. Otherwise, I'm just not going to do it.
Interesting.
Has it been fun for you?
What?
This?
100%. I would say one of my favorite podcasts. As I said, the thing that I loved the most is the ability to ask questions. That's the thing that I really enjoyed most.
And you didn't even know you were allowed to at the start?
Here?
Yeah.
I I knew that it was more flexible than the other one, but I kind of like tested it and then saw what would happen. But again, it's kind of like the other ones were more of like, here are my questions, answer them,
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
We should remember that, Clint.
Stating that in the beginning.
Yeah, because a few people have said that. Oh, like, I'm allowed to ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, the thing that like, see, I'm here and it's like, I don't want to step on your toes and kind of like take over the conversation in a way. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So, yeah, it's something to think about.
That's funny because I don't even enjoy it unless it goes both ways.
Right.
If it was just me with questions, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I don't have any questions. This note just says your name. Bashar. That's it. Yeah. How long has it been so far? 2:44. So, you headed back to Miami after this?
I was trying to go back today, but there were no flights, so I'm leaving tomorrow morning.
Cool.
Yeah, can't wait to go back home and sleep in my bed. I haven't done that. I was telling him earlier, I feel like a whore, just like from hotel to hotel, and it, yeah, I want to go back to my bed.
Yeah, I don't really know that feeling so well. Have you been, I know you're at Tony's, were you at a bunch before that?
Well, it was kind of like, not previously before that, but beginning of November, I was at another one of Tony's. And then October, we were here. And then from here, we went to San Diego. We were at that other event.
Yeah.
And then from there, the entire, team came back to Miami. And then we were like just going out every day and stuff like that. And then by the time they left, it's just, I feel like this quarter I've just traveled so much because I'm not used to traveling that much. That's the thing. Like I'll travel maybe twice a year on average, if that.
Yeah, it is a balance. For me, I probably want to travel at least once a quarter.
Okay.
Just to get out of my space.
Yeah.
But not too far.
I was going to ask about that. I mean, what is your preference for travel? Because I do like the unplugging, the like 4 or 5 day week of just complete unplugging. But I also don't like to, like the thing that I don't like to do is like go on an adventure and then try to be forced to like go out to check things out and stuff like that, Like one of the reasons why I haven't been to Europe or something like that, it's because I feel like if I'm there, I'm going to feel obligated to like go out.
I'll go sightseeing.
And go sightseeing,
Yeah.
go check out this thing, go check out that thing. And it's like, well, that's not fun.
Yeah. No, I don't like that. You can probably imagine what I like, which is go somewhere and see what happens.
Yeah.
Which is what I like to do like all the time. Probably some of the best trips I've had were spontaneous from the start. Like my wife and I were like, let's go on a road trip. So we just got in the car and we were like, where are we going? We don't know.
Just start
We
driving.
just drive that way. And then, we meet someone. And then they're like, oh, you should come back. We're having a party. And then we go over there and then there's this big ass party. And then it leads to something else. And then they're like, you should go to this place. And we're like, all right, let's go check that lake out tomorrow. And it just unfolds like that, which I can't do anymore with the baby.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite kind of way to do things. I don't like, right, we're going to this place and on every day we're doing these things. That's not a holiday for me.
Well, here's an interesting thing. So today I interviewed someone, and he said that for the last 2 years, his wife, his 3 children, 7, 4, and 1, have been full-time. Obviously, they've had their last child over the last year or so. They've been full-time travelers. And I'm like, how have you been able to do it with 3 children? He's like, they're homeschooled. We travel everywhere together. And they literally, like every month or 2 months, they're somewhere.
Is his name Jermaine?
No.
Oh, okay. I know a guy that does that. I think it can work if you commit fully to just being traveling. Is there business around sharing how they do it?
No, he helps people with their tech.
With their tech? What do you mean?
Like CRM, managing CRM, things like that.
But it's just single Like he doesn't have a team or anything?
No, he's got a team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got a team, a remote.
I think you can make anything work if you commit fully to it.
I just feel like that's a lot of energy.
Oh, yeah. 100%. No one builds anything amazing like that, by the way.
Well, I was just going to say that too.
Yeah, there's a serious sacrifice to do that.
That's interesting. I did not even think about that. Holy shit.
What?
Because we're in the process of hiring him to manage our CRM and tech and stuff like that.
He still could be good at that, but like, it's the building part that's hard. Because building requires like, building on top of what you did yesterday, while also keeping everything together that you've done in the past.
Right.
So it requires a lot of like, it's a different type of thing. Typically the people that do that well, like they develop roots, right? Like people, services, things they like, a whole like supply chain they can rely on basically for everything.
Yeah,
because
100%.
it's super important.
Yeah.
You just can't be like uprooting everything all the time and expecting yourself to keep building like that.
Yeah.
But if you're in a service type of thing, I think it can work. Like if you were just coaching and all you needed to do was be present and show up,
Yeah.
then it would probably be all right. But
Because you're not building. Interesting.
there's something about building, yeah. You really, and I think there's something about building where you really fall, in order to build well, you fall in love with your environment. That's the trick. If I was to tell anyone, it's don't try to build something first. Build the room that you're going to build in. Yeah. Because it has to feel right first. And yeah.
But then what do you do with like boredom? And what I mean by boredom is like getting too used to your environment. Because that's also another thing. Like, here's the thing. So we live on the water, and it's a beautiful view. And when I'm there every day, I don't even notice it. But every time I travel and I come back and I walk in, I'm like, wow, that's a badass view. And literally yesterday when we walked into the house, I looked at my wife. I'm like, do you see this? No wonder why all of our friends that come, they say we have a nice view. And I look back and I'm like, yeah, that's all right. You know? How do you deal with that? I mean, I guess you could get out more or travel more or something, but
How do you appreciate what you have?
how do you deal with not getting bored with what you have? Because I feel like that, like,
You change it. Like, but you can build on it, right? So like I chose where I live, my house, it's 3.5 acres.
okay,
Do you know how much of a canvas that is?
I mean, yeah, that's
I'm
huge.
not going to run out of
Yeah.
shit there.
Got it.
So like, I want to get a beehive at some point.
Beehive?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think bees are kind of interesting. And then, if there's like a gym there, we've already got an orchard
Okay.
with citrus fruits and everything. Ashley's putting in vegetable garden. And then there's all of these flowers, like different flowers, like huge sunflowers and things, and they're interesting to look at. If there's some bees there. And then I thought, well, if we're going to have all of this pollen and everything here, some hummingbirds will probably come, so we can probably put some kind of bird bath thing there. And then there's like a dry sauna and an infrared sauna and a cold plunge. And then there's an awesome views from different perspectives all over the place, and there's going to be paths going around everywhere.
Okay.
So like, and then inside the house, there will be like a library, the study, and then I like music, so like we could have a music room.
Sure.
And then I'm going to have kids running around, and then wife. And a kitchen. So like, think about how many things I have in there, right? I can live in there. It's like a whole world.
Now, at this level, you can afford all this.
I don't have any of that. Like, that's the vision, see?
No, I know, but I mean, like, you can build all this. But what about like 10 years ago when you couldn't, or I'm not sure when you started your journey,
Why are you asking?
How would you be able to create an environment where you are inspired inside of that you can build without,
I see.
Yeah,
so just living with you have to always be within your means. So it would just be like the desk. I mean, the room and the desk has always been the common theme. You've probably noticed in all of my videos, there's a desk.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where it's been. So I'll like put a lot of thought into like the room that I'm going to be in. I pay attention to like where I feel good.
Okay.
I notice it's always in mountains and hills. Yeah, there's something about the energy in like hills that I really like. I get bored and my creativity fades on the flat. So I might try to find like a place in the hills that is looking out onto something. It could just be trees, it could something to look out onto. And I will have that preferably is in some kind of hill.
Got it.
So like I'll try to find that place, and that will be a kind of a game. And then once I find that place, I'll know the room, and I want my desk to be able to like look out the window. And then I'll choose a desk I really like, a chair I really like, and then I might just kind of feel it out. I might be like, what's missing? I need a plant. I need something green, or what's something yellow or something.
Okay.
And then I might put some incense in there. And then I might turn on some music, and then it all happens.
Got it. Okay.
So you see how for it all to come out,
Yeah.
it has to like, it's this little process of like getting everything feeling right, and then it just all comes out.
That's interesting because see, I don't want to say I'm the complete opposite. I do like to be looking at something nice, but I like the least amount of things around me as possible. Up until before I had to put all these like things on the walls and all the all this stuff, my room was just a big white box. It was one desk, one chair, laptop. I had a halo light that was sitting on the side, and whatever book I'm reading for the week or whatever next to me, and that's it. Literally, that's it. Up until recently, when I needed to add all these things because literally, I mean, it was echoing because I had nothing. And as I add more things, like whether if it's incense or whether if it's a plant or whatever, I feel like my space is getting cluttered. And I feel like when things get busy, my eyes seem to get distracted. Like I keep catching myself looking at the lines on that painting and stuff. It's weird. I don't know. I mean, it could be just me, but I don't know.
But then do you get bored if you're not working in that place?
Do I get bored if I...
Do you like just hanging out in that room that you work in if you're not working?
I usually don't hang out in that room,
Yeah.
no.
So that's interesting, right? What feeling do you associate with hanging out?
So that's a theme around all of our house, by the way. That is very, I don't know, what's the word? Like
Sterile?
Yeah, like I guess you could say, not frugal, but like empty in a way, Like we don't have paintings on walls. We don't have, like we have one couch, but a place, I don't know. But I just know I don't like clutter.
Yeah. So what I try to do is make a place that I would want to be first. And then I work. But I don't know, everyone has their own process, but that I know for a lot of like creative people, like artists and stuff,
right?
That's really important because it's the whole experience of everything around the craft that actually gives you the joy. It's like I remember Michael Jordan saying that, if you want to be the best basketball player in the world, you fall in love with the game first.
Right. Sure.
And how you do that is you learn to love the smell of the ball and the touch of it, right? And you sleep next to it. And the ball becomes like an intimate thing. The act of like pulling on your shoes and lacing it up and walking down like being in a locker room and and spending time just in an empty court, like with the stadium empty too, right? And hearing how the ball bounces. You have to like fall in love with that whole experience to really love the game. Do you know what I'm saying?
Do you think you could go too far into obsessing over that though? where it can take away from your creativity?
Well, if all you're doing is that and you're not actually doing any work, then
Right.
100%, yeah. But, a lot of people I see that I find it, I always do this exercise in my courses and my groups, like upload a photo of your workstation, like where do you work from? That tells me a lot about someone, and I get to see where everyone's at.
Right.
I couldn't help but notice, but the people that do really well have really put a lot of effort in. The people that never do well, they're like, they don't even have a desk. So like they've got a shitty like IBM laptop, right? Which I wouldn't even want to, if I had to even fucking use that, I wouldn't even be an entrepreneur. Straight up, that would just be so shit to use that I wouldn't even want to do business. And then they're like sitting in a room with no windows, and so I've seen some people have like an ironing board. You know, an ironing board?
Yeah.
They're standing up at an ironing board with a
As their desk?
Yes.
Interesting.
I'm like, how the fuck is anything going to happen there? Like that there, and it's because, and it tells you a lot about the person's priorities and preferences, because the main rooms of the house, how someone like, the most important rooms are for the TV and for the kitchen table and for the couch and for the garage. So what they're really saying is this thing is the least important to me out of all of these things. Right?
Okay.
But someone that does really well, they've often put a lot of thought into it. And then they're much more likely to show up, and they're much more likely to value it, because it's like they love it.
That's interesting you say that, because something that we we noticed is that usually the people that don't do that well show up on meetings without their cameras on. And then when they do turn on their cameras, it's like they're either just came out of the shower and they have like towel all over their heads or something, or like their rooms are messy or whatever. And so once we made it like mandatory to have your cameras on during the meetings, we started like spotting these things, and then we started seeing like people starting getting things cleaned up. And this is one of the, I don't want to say one of the reasons, but I know it's kind of down the line of like the reasons why we want to even go from phone closing to Zoom closing is because we want people to show up on the calls like more professional, kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to turn on your camera, it's like, well, obviously with Zoom you can put on a fake background or whatever, but I better look decent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've just noticed these things, but I don't do it because that's what I've noticed. I just did it very natural. Like, that's what I've always done.
Got it.
It's like a craftsman always loves his tools. And if you move his tools around or you give him bad tools, he won't want to craft.
Right.
Because that's not part of the experience, or the workbench, or like, you know?
Yeah.
So something to think about is how could you make a space that you really love being in? Then I'm interested to see what changes in the stuff you create.
Okay. Put some thought into that.
Well, it kind of goes back to that thing you were saying with like work-life harmony.
Sure.
That environment I was talking about is designed in a way that like I enter it, and the things that have to happen that are good happen, like health, exercise, you know what I mean?
Sure.
That just naturally kind of happens. And then I enter this environment, this other thing kind of happens. Instead of it all having to be my own will, I kind of try to cheat and make that's the other reason why I like people. Because if I come here and there's a bunch of people, now I actually have to come here. Because if I don't come here, then I'm letting them down. So it's all designed in a way that makes me do the right thing.
Got it.
And have fun. Yeah.
So rewarding the right behavior, pretty much.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Not relying on your will, because that stuff's limited. Yeah. Mm. Well, how can people find you on the internet?
I would say Instagram is probably the best way. Just go to Instagram, search Bashar J Katou or BJK University. If you want to watch some of my testing on YouTube, feel free to look up BJK University on YouTube as well. Still figuring out the YouTube game, but there is a lot more. You know, I upload things like that. There's longer form content, things that are actually happening in my mind that I want to talk about. Go on YouTube.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Cool. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you for having me.